An asteroid called 2024 PT5 is heading towards Earth and is set to become a mini-moon for 2 months. They are claiming an asteroid is going to show up, orbit the Earth for a little over a month, and then take off again. Think about that. Researchers discovered the small asteroid on the 7th of August. Calculations of the 10-metre-long asteroid as it approaches Earth. According to Asteroid Dynamics researchers, it should loop around Earth from 29th of September until the 25th of November. The mini-moon will stay around until it breaks loose and continues its journey through the solar system. Due to asteroid 2024 PT5's close proximity to the planet, Earth's gravity will temporarily alter its path.
Did NASA issue out a warning for a near-Earth asteroid the size of a stadium for tomorrow, September 17th? No, they didn't issue a warning, but a lot of headlines said they did. They put it out on JPL's asteroid to watch list, and we do have a near-Earth asteroid tomorrow, newly discovered asteroid 2024 ON, and at its closest approach, it'll be about 1 million kilometers from Earth, okay? Now, some people in the southern hemisphere, this thing's big enough and bright enough, if you're an astrophotographer, you may be able to capture it. And at its closest to Earth, it's going to be about 60 degrees away from the full supermoon.
This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know how you're all saying UFOs don't exist, they're not real, aliens aren't real, none of this is fucking real, it's a fucking psyop because the aliens don't exist? Well, the government has passed along a new handbook for all the police in the United States to abide and follow. Look, police across the United States given new UFO handbook as they warn craft pose a significant threat. Really? Really? Now you're deciding that these things are threatening? I can't go any further with this. UFOs are real. Obviously the government is confirming it to the point where they're passing out handbooks on how to fucking deal with them. I'll see myself out.
An object supposedly that has been detected by the either James Webb Space Telescope or some other deep space observation platform that we have, and that object, supposedly, that object is moving towards Earth, and it's making moves, it's making braking maneuvers, it's changing direction, it's doing different things that indicate that it's under some kind of intelligent control. I find that really interesting, but that's one separate conversation that's going on in the UAP community right now, and it's been kind of blowing up the internet, and people are rightfully asking a lot of questions about it, and I don't know exactly what to think because there hasn't been, at least again, as far as I'm aware, any other evidence that's come out to corroborate this. But apparently, again, according to the rumor, there are people in Congress who are receiving classified briefings about this. Now, separately from that, there's the other news story of the James Webb Space Telescope detecting signs of biosignatures on K1218b. And those are a different thing altogether. And either one of them would be enormous news. Obviously, one of them would be a little bit more surprising than the other. But the idea that they're going to announce some kind of detection of life on another planet not too far from us has been kind of knocking around the internet for a while. Signs of life picked up by James Webb for some time, and it indicates that there's something there, but they haven't made any rock solid conclusions or determinations yet. But that's all being looked at right now. There's a lot of excitement in the community about this discovery. If it turns out to be what they hope that it is, which it hasn't yet, but as far as I understand, if it turns out to be what they hope it is, it's going to be a pretty big deal. Below the surface, that there is some kind of an event coming, some kind of an an event is the best word, really. It's so vague. Something is going to happen. Something's going to happen in the next few years, and it's going to make it impossible to ignore the UAP NHI reality anymore. And for people who are on the fence about it, they won't be anymore. And apparently this is going to kind of close the book on that whole conversation. And it'll be like the day after will be a new dawn of a new time. The late 80s, 1987 or 88, with George Knapp interviewing John Lear, who was the son of the founder of Lear Jets. John Lear, world record holding pilot, who was also a pilot who worked for the CIA for a number of years and was a UFO investigator in the early days. He said something on that interview about his contacts in the government suggesting that there was some kind of an enormous event that they were preparing for, but they couldn't or wouldn't tell him what it was, but that it was coming. Linda Moulton Howe, in past interviews, has touched on this a little bit. More recently, John Ramirez, the retired CIA officer John Ramirez, he's talked about it. Lou Elizondo has talked about it. In fact, I think Lou Elizondo and John Ramirez were talking about the same thing, and I think John was actually referring to Lou's comment on this. What he said, and this was going back like 2 years ago, that there is going to be, Lou has said a number of things that if you string them all together, start to paint a really weird picture. For one, he said that if people knew what he knew, they would be somber. And it was a really weird choice of words, but somber was the word that he chose. And then when pressed on that and asked, like, well, what would you do? What should people do if they knew what you knew? And his answer was, again, kind of cagey and weird. And he said, well, you should spend time with your family. You should spend time with your kids. You should spend time with people you love and care about. That's what you should do. And it was like, okay. Like everything Lou says, you can read it 2 or 3 different ways, but each time he says something new and you add it to the other things that he said, it paints a more and a more ominous picture. So he was like, okay, well, you can spend time with your family and your friends and people you care about. That's what you should do. If you knew what I knew, you'd feel somber. He said that our solar system is going to be passing through a region of space. Now, I have no idea what this means. I have no formal training in any of this stuff, so I just don't know. But I'm just telling you what Lou said in this interview. He said that our solar system is going to be passing through a region of space where something is going to happen, and it's going to be difficult for anybody to hide the UAP reality. If I'm paraphrasing, but that's more or less what he was trying to communicate. And I have no idea what this has to do with the region of space that we're going to be passing through, but that's something that he talked about. So you've got all of these different people making these statements. Now, that's just the people that we know of. There are also dozens and dozens of abductees and contactees who have been told various things throughout the years, including Chris Bledsoe, who is one of the most famous contactees recently in the last few years, who his story, UFO of God, is that's his book. He details all this stuff out. He was apparently shown a vision of something called the Lady, and the Lady was an apparition, a white-robed blonde woman floating above the ground, glowing, light coming off of her, accompanied by some kind of a holographic, gigantic bull, like in freaking The Last Unicorn. Who remembers The Last Unicorn? Remember the Red Bull at the end? Chasing the unicorns into the sea. Anybody? King Haggard? No?
You told me that you described how they will make a fake rapture. Could you describe that? Because that was interesting.
So with this technology that I saw with my own eyes, they can literally make anything they want appear in the sky, and they've got thousands, I think it's close to 10,000 satellites that they admit to. So all of these have the ability to project three-dimensional images. You know, they use a combination of satellites to get a three-dimensional image. This is what they're up to. The fake rapture will be projected into the sky, and they will have, beams of energy coming down during that time, and people will look like they got taken up, but really they got evaporated. And some people will say, no, he wasn't taken up. I saw him get burned up. His shoes are still there, and his feet ran him, or something like this. So you'll see that, and it'll confuse a lot of Christians, and a lot of Christians will think, oh, I just didn't make it. Jesus came, and I wasn't good enough, and and they'll be beating themselves up, and I might as well take the mark, or I might as well myself.
When I was a corporate manager of Fairchild Industries in 1974 through 77, I met the late Dr. Werner von Braun in early 74. At that time, von Braun was dying of cancer, But he assured me that he would live a few more years in order to tell me about the game that was being played. That game being the effort to weaponize space, to control the Earth from space and space itself. Von Braun's purpose in life during the last years of his life, his dying years, was to educate the public and decision makers about why space-based weapons are a dumb, dangerous, destabilizing, too costly, unnecessary, unworkable, undesirable idea. The strategy that Wernher von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in '74, they were the enemy, the identified enemy. We were told that they had killer satellites. We were told that they were coming to get us and control us, the dirty commies, that whole story. First, the Russians were the enemy against whom we're going to build space-based weapons. Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. We heard a lot about terrorism. Then we were going to identify third world country crazies. We now call them nations of concern. But he said that would be the third enemy against whom we would be needing to build space-based weapons. And the next enemy was asteroids. Now at this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said it. Asteroids, against asteroids we're going to build space-based weapons. So it was funny then. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens, and all of it, he said, is a lie. He didn't mention a timeline, but he said that it was going to be speeding up faster than anybody could possibly imagine. That the effort to put weapons in space was not only based on a lie, but would accelerate past the point of people even understanding it until it was already up there and too late. In 1977, I was at a meeting in Fairchild Industries in a conference room called the War Room. This is 1977, and they were talking about creating a war in the Gulf region when there was $25 billion in the space-based weapons program that yet had not been identified. It wasn't called the Strategic Defense Initiative, at least, until 1983. This weapons system then had obviously been going on for some time that I didn't know anything about. So I stood up in this meeting in 1977 and it said, I'd like to know why we're talking about space-based weapons against these enemies. I'd like to know more about this. Would somebody tell me what this is about? Nobody answered. They went on with this meeting as though I hadn't said anything.
Shalom, Kahala Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahshai, Ba'Shem Rakakodash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, who are the house of David reborn again in this generation. And Shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage, who were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites on the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about Project Bluebeam and the coming alien invasion deception that these Edomites are cooking up. But let's go and read this first. This is 2 Corinthians 2:11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So, as we just watched in a couple of those videos, lucky if it took too long, Hakim, but I wanted to show you the recent videos that have been making the rounds on social media, right? That have first come out a couple days ago. I think I even posted it on my Instagram about an asteroid called 2024 ON, which is basically, people are going to say it's going to be a second moon in the sky. Which, when you hear these astronomical reports, you got to take them with a grain of salt. It's more likely just going to be another small little dot in the sky that you could see if you look really hard. Like, for example, right now, if you were to look, like right now it's like 10 o'clock here in California. The satellite 2024 ON is not going to be visible in in the sky until about 12 o'clock, so in about 2 hours, and you have to look in the southeast at the very towards the horizon and actually see it. Okay, it's a small, going to be a small dot, so it's not going to be no second moon. So you got to take that for a grain of salt whenever you hear things like this. Next, we've also been hearing, like it said in the other videos, that cops are being notified to be on the lookout or to be aware of the alien threat. And why is that? Well, because you see, they are putting out the disinformation right now to the public. And you got to remember, right, that though cops may pretend to be friends or they may pretend to be on the public side, the majority of the cops on top, right, the captains and the cops that call the shots, they're all Freemasons, right? They're in the fraternal brotherhood, and they're playing along with the Edomites that are in the Freemason group, okay? And they're working together to bring forward this grand deception. And what is the grand deception? Well, like you just heard, the Dr. Carol Rosen, who was the assistant to Wernher von Braun, who was that Nazi scientist that America brought over after they started to cherry pick all the scientists and psychiatrists and people of renown from the Nazi Germany. Well, he came over and he started the NASA, space program, which really was the Nazi space program. But again, it gave America, right, these Edomites, the ability to go into low Earth orbit. They never went to the moon, but they did go into the very high end of the atmosphere, okay? Basically right on the edges of space. But that's about as far as they've ever gotten, right? Physically, that is, with their bodies. Now, they've sent out satellites and robots further that can get past the radiation bombardment from the Van Allen belt, but they themselves, humans, have never been outside of the Van Allen belt. It's not possible, okay? And especially not in an aluminum tin can that can't even shield bodies against radiation. At least the amount of radiation's out there in the Van Allen belt. Well, like the scripture says, right, that we are not ignorant of Satan's devices. Now, Satan here is ultimately a left-hand angel, right? He works deception and doubt, and he's working right now with these Edomites because they are his children, okay? These Edomites, they worship Satan, okay? They are his people, and in doing so, they're doing his will. Now, here's where they're getting tripped up. You see, Satan's will is the will of the Most High, okay? That whole BS blasphemous doctrine that the angels rebelled and Satan took half of the angels with him and basically escaped here to earth, who he then taught the humans how to do all these things. That's all a bunch of lies. That did not happen. That is from the book of Enoch, and it's a bunch of Jewish fables, right? That's nowhere found in the Bible, right? But what is found in the Bible are the accounts of Satan that are found in Job, right? Where Job is prophet who was able to break down the spiritual realm in a pretty deep way. And in doing so, he was able to give a testimony of Satan's role in the heavenly tabernacle, okay? Satan is simply one of the obedient angels of the Lord doing his will. Now, he just happens to do the left-hand will of the Lord, because you see, contrary to popular belief that these false churches love to preach, the Lord is more than just love. He's all different sorts of emotions, okay? And one of those emotions is hatred, right? The scriptures say, shall there be evil in a city and the Lord hath not done it? The Lord is in charge of all matters of death, okay? And just like that, he has angels appointed to fulfill those left-hand commandments, okay? And that's where Satan and the left-hand angels, or what we refer to as demons, come into play, okay? Well, they are currently working with these Edomites to give them technology, to raise them up to a level where they believe that they're going to be competent enough to fight against the Lord. And also, on top of that, just to take over the world. This is why you're seeing these devils rush through this world domination scheme that they have to bring forward the New World Order. This is Matthew 24 and 23. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is the Messiah, or there, believe it not. You see, these devils, in their alien deception, are going to try to say that there's going to be aliens invasions on this country, on that country, that there's going to be more likely a crash of some sort. And you're not going to see it in physical. You may see it, right? We may see something in the sky, some weird glimmer, something that is being projected by these SpaceX satellites, which have been rushed into space and now blanket the entire Earth. Why do you think that was all done to trade cat videos and, you know, food recipes online? No. This was done because SpaceX is a veiled military arm, and they're doing the will of these Edomites. Okay, this is why Elon Musk, all his companies have been basically given the go-ahead by the government, and they've been permitted to cut so much red tape from the bureaucracy around the world. And why is that? Well, because you see, Elon Musk is their poster boy, that they're bringing out all this hidden technology that they've had. Okay, that Space Force, the weapons in space, the Satan's angels fighting against God and his angels. That's all these devils, these Edomites, getting into their position to fight against the Lord. And that's what you're seeing when they created the Space Force, or they launched all these Tesla satellites into sky. They're going to project some sort of false image of alien invasions, and who knows, they may even try to project an image of Cesare Borgia, right, the fake white Jesus, right, to fool the masses, right? Because what they're ultimately going to do, and it's been already said in many of their testimonies, right? Even Ronald Reagan said at the UN conference that if that the Earth was attacked by an outside force, that would unite humanity. And that's ultimately also a plot of the movie Watchmen, right, where they faked an alien invasion, and ultimately they did end up killing off a lot of people in the city of New York with this false flag. But what it ended up doing was bringing together the world as one people. And that's ultimately what these devils, these Edomites, are trying to do here on earth now. But in reality, right, they believe that if they put on a big enough show, a big enough lie, that they'll be able to fool enough people, so that way they can then say that they're in contact with these aliens, and that the aliens are here to help us, and they've given us all this technology where we have to now implant in our brains or in our hands. And you know how these Edomites are going to get down, right? They're going to ultimately push a bunch of lies to push their narrative, so that way they get the upper hand. This is 2 Corinthians 11 and 14. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. And that's how these devils are going to get down, these Edomites, these so-called Caucasian race, along with the Israelis, which are also Edomites, right? They're going to somehow bring forward this false alien invasion Saya, right? And like I said, I'm more likely you're going to see some explosions here or there, and then they're going to claim it was an alien craft, or you know, some plane got shot down by these aliens, and all this stuff. And now the government now has these downed UFO airplanes or craft, and they now have all this information, which is information they've all had for the longest, since like the mid 19th or the mid 18th century, right? That was given to them by the left-hand angels, right? So that way Esau can get up and be powerful, right? But again, this is something that we have to be on the lookout, because again, these devils, they're going to try to bring forward a unity of the world, right? They may say that, oh, these aliens try to pretend to be the Messiah, and you know, we ultimately killed them off, and you know, we saved humanity, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to fall for these lies. But what does the Bible tell us? Well, first of all, the Bible makes it very clear how the Messiah is going to come back for the second coming. This is going to be found in Acts 1 and 11. It says, which also said, ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven? This same Yahushua, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. And you see, what does that mean? That means that just as Yahushua was taken up into a cloud, right, here's a fairly good depiction of this, right? You see a chariot back here in the background, looking as if it's hiding itself, like it's cloaking itself within the clouds. So the prophets living during this time, around 33 AD, not even understanding what UFOs were or transparency and all this stuff was, they would refer to this as the clouds. So when it says that he went up into the heavens, this is more likely what they seen. They seen Yahushua ascending into a chariot. And those angels that were talking to the disciples, what did they say? They said that the Messiah was going to come back in like manner, meaning he's going to come back from space. Okay, he's going to come back in a chariot. And where else can we go to see that? Well, this is Revelations 1 and 7. The revelations of the Messiah that John the Revelator had. It said, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, amen. So that's one thing you gotta realize, okay? These devils, these Edomites, for as vast the resources that they have and all the logistics that they've managed to muster together to pull this grand delusion off, it's all going to be small potatoes compared to what we're going to see with the Lord. Okay? Just like when we see all these other psyops and false flags being pushed, and you hear, you know, and it's, you can always tell when it's a psyop because it's on all the news channels, and it's constantly being replayed and hammered into our minds over and over again. That's what we're going to see when this happens, right? We're going to see a bunch of news coverage, or you're going to see some random stranger that was in the right place at the right time, filming the right place, and they're going to show all the, you know, either going to record a video of all this marvelous event happening, which is then going to be played ad nauseum on all the news channels, but nobody really is going to actually see it, right? There's going to be, the majority of the world will not see what the news is trying to sell them, okay? And that is how you're going to know that this isn't true, right? You're going to see a big old statement come out, and all these channels are going to cover it, and they're going to make you feel retarded for not believing them. Then you're going to have people out there who are going to basically tell you that this is Project Blue Beam and this is a distraction, that's a psyop, and then you're going to hear about the news coming out saying how disinformation is dangerous and blah 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 and all this stuff. But see, that right there shows you that's not the second coming of the Messiah, because right here in Revelation it says every eye shall see him. Okay, and so much so that all kindreds of the earth, meaning everybody on earth, when they see this, they're gonna basically be scared. They're gonna be in shock. And why is that? Well, because you see, when the Messiah comes back, he's not just coming back in one ship, right? No, he's coming back with the thousands of heaven, meaning that the sky is going to be filled with these chariots, or what we refer to as the UFOs, okay? Or now they're trying to change the word to UAVs because of the magic that they put on the word UFO is still there to block people's cognitive dissonance from associating it with reality. But what we're going to see is we're going to see the sky filled with thousands upon thousands of UAPs, okay? Things that you just can't make up, right? You can't project with satellite projectors and stuff, okay? This is going to be very obvious that these are going to be the chariots, because they're going to be along with showing up and having that presence that you could just tell that's real, they're going to be doing things that you can't fake. Meaning, they're going to be destroying cities. They're going to be destroying armies. Okay, people, when they see this, the world at this point is going to be in a devastated state, right? You're going to have Jacob's trouble, which is basically martial law, is going to already be in full effect. You're going to have the famines going on. You're going to have the infighting amongst the citizens against the governments. Everything is just going to be in turmoil. Okay, and when these chariots show up, the people, like it says, they're going to mourn. They're going to freak out and they're not going to have news to tell them, because more likely electricity is going to be out in that time, right? TV is more likely not going to be playing like it is nowadays, right? You're only going to have maybe like the main news propaganda channels, and that's just because of that exact reason, that because they're propaganda. So the government's going to work tooth and nail to make sure that certain channels stay on so that they can continue to pump out their misinformation. But like I was saying, I said all that to say this, that when these chariots show up, it's going to be at a point of humanity that everything's going to be decimated, and people are going to, everybody's going to see it, okay? And besides them seeing that, they're also going to see the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and anybody whose father's lineage goes back to that bloodline. They're going to see them being taken up into the chariots, okay? And what are these people going to say? Once they've been duped and tricked, and they found out that us Israelites, who have been warning everybody for decades, starting with High Priest Abba Bivens back in the 50s, all the way to now with the apostles, starting with Apostle Tahar, Apostle Gabar, Apostle Ramla, Apostle Manatazat. All these Akim have been out there warning and waking up our people, all for this day, for the true rapture to come, right? Because again, these churches like to bring up a false rapture, saying that the Messiah is going to show up, he's going to take the good people, and then 7 years later he's going to come back and take the people who repent. That's a bunch of BS. That ain't going to happen. There is only one rapture, and that rapture is going to take up the 144,000 plus one out of every 3 Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and anybody whose father's lineage goes back to that bloodline, because they are the elect. They are the Israelites whom the Lord is going to restart humanity with, who when they're taken up into heaven are going to receive those new bodies. They're going to be able to get to be made into a state where they are God-like, right? They're going to be crowned, and they're going to return back to earth to do what? Well, to bring order, to bring rule of law, the law of the Bible, that is, to earth. And then you're going to see a mass fight between the people of heaven, which would be the Israelites, the elect specifically, and the people of earth that are going to try to fight against the Lord and against the ways. But it's going to be very soon realized that you cannot fight against the angels. You can't fight against the Israelites. And pretty much you're going to, the world is going to bend the knee to the will of the Lord and his servants, the Israelites. Okay? So let's get this. This is Wisdom of Solomon 5:1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors. And that's what's happening right now. You're seeing the Israelites, right? The ones who are woken up, who the Lord has put it on their spirit to go out and preach this word. He's put it on their spirit to be bold and basically talk down on these Edomites who have taken no account of our labors. We're out there basically spilling the beans, telling the world what's really going on, who these devils are, who we are. Okay, and we're doing it with great boldness. Because why? Because we are bold like lions, because we're telling the truth. And we don't have to hide, right? These devils gotta hide. They're the ones in trouble. We're not us. This is verse 2. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they looked for. And this is ultimately talking about how the 1/3 and the elect are going to be saved. They're going to be saved by being pushed up into the sky, by being, pulled up into the sky, into these chariots. And all the people around are going to be like, man, he's saved? How is he saved, right? And they're going to think that they're going to be kicking themselves in the ass, thinking that we were, mean, or we were rapists, or we were basically preaching hate. They're going to realize that they were all deceived by the devil with his organized religion, right? They're going to realize that they've trusted in their false religion, and they now have nothing to fall back on. This is what they're going to say. Verse 3, and they, repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit, shall say within themselves, this was he whom we had sometimes in derision, and a proverb of reproach. We fools accounted his life madness, and his end to be without honor. How is he numbered amongst the children of God, and his lot is amongst the saints? Therefore we have erred from the way of truth, and the light of righteousness hath not shined unto us, and the sun of righteousness rose not upon us. And that's ultimately what these 2/3 of our people, plus the other heathen nations, are going to be considering that they messed up, that they should have listened to the Israelites, that they're going to realize that a prophet was amongst them when they're going to go through this. Because again, after the chariots take up the 1/3 and the elect are going to be saved from the coming destruction, then they're going to rain down judgment upon the earth, namely here in America, and also the NATO forces, right? Destroying the Babylon and the beast described in Revelations, right? And this is what the rest of the world has to look forward to, man, is ultimately that lake of fire and the fiery death, right? The second death that is spoken about in the Bible. So either way, Akim, I just wanted you to be aware that they're now starting to push out the coming alien deception, okay? They're going to try to make it seem as if somebody's seen something and this and that, and ultimately a lot of this is going to be supernatural beings. You're going to see like that alien spotting over in Las Vegas, right? You had that Issachrite family saying that it was in the backyard. Now that, I believe, actually happened, right? But it was a demon, right? It was a demon that showed up. Now the alien in Florida that happened last year, that was a bunch of BS, right? When you look at the images, it was just a bunch of digital artifacts on the screen that come from because of messed up compression. There was no alien, right? People just freaked out because a bunch of jakes were stealing from the store, and it caused a huge commotion, and this then led to a bunch of people just freaking losing their shit. But the point being is we're going to start seeing a lot of crazy supernatural things, and these devils are going to try to use that to their advantage by bringing forward this alien invasion hoax known as Project Bluebeam, and there's a bunch of other names that it's known for. But just again, be careful when you're watching these news reports, because these devils are going to try to trick us, right? They're going to try to make us believe that an alien showed up in Vegas or Germany or some other place. But just remember, the Bible makes it very clear how the Messiah is going to come back. And when he comes back, it's not going to be some small little, alien, ship landing in some obscure city and revealing themselves to some random person. No, it's going to be a worldwide witness event. Everybody on earth shall see the Messiah when he returns. So, alright, Akim, hopefully this video was edifying. Until next time, I want to give all honor and glory and praises to Yahweh B'Shem El Shai, B'Shem Kokodash. Shalom.